History doesn't begin last week. It begins and it has a process that unfolds over a period of time. We needed to confront Iran, and we needed to confront the Soviet Union. We cannot confront them on the basis of monarchy structure. We can't say the king, rise up and gives a speech and moves people to march to confront the Soviet Union or to confront Iran. We needed, once again, to mobilize Islamic identities, and in particular to mobilize Sunni Islamic identity. Interestingly enough, before 79, if you looked at the writings in the Arab world concerning Shi'ism, you would be hardly pressed to find 3 or 4 books written. Most of the books you will find in possibly classical period, somebody in the 7th century writing a polemical work against a Shia scholar, somebody in the 9th century writing another polemical and debate occurring in that period. In the 20th century, there is an absence, prior to 79, of any real writings on Shi'ism by Sunni writers or any thinkers in a real sense doing that. 79, all of a sudden you have a flood of material coming out in the Sunni world, in particular in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, in Lebanon, where you have a Shia population, in Jordan. Now, the dynamics is Shi'ism constitutes a threat to the Arab world. Literally, the language that was used is the threat to the eastern gate of the Arab world. And the threat is of Shi'ism being directing, possibly undermining the Sunni world, which is at the eastern front. Now, much of the Arab world was mobilized to try to confront Iran. And that's why Saddam Hussein launched the war against Iran in 1980, supported by every Sunni Arab state, financially and militarily, including us, including the United States, including the Soviet Union, which also wanted to confront Shia Islam in Iran, because they have their own Islamic communities in the Soviet republics that they did not want to have rising Islamic tendencies, especially in Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, where their Muslim minorities been repressed for a long period of time. So they did not want Iran to bleed into these republics. So what you have is a concerted effort to try to confront Shia Islam in Iran. And the only way for us to do it by mobilizing Sunni Islamic tendencies. This results in TV programs, specials about the threat of Shi'ism, similar to what you find possibly in the 50s about the threat of communism. You would think that behind every door there's a communist about to take your food. In a similar sense in the Arab world, there was a building up the threat of Shi'ism relative to the Sunni Arab world. In instances in Jordan, for example, prisoners were released from prison on the premise that they go to the front and fight for a couple of years. So as a way to commute your sentence, you go to the front in Iraq, and if you had 7-year or 10-year sentence, you just go to the front for 2 years, and then you're free after that. And many actually did that. They went to the front, but they escaped and went up to Turkey, and then off to Europe, and now they're living the high life in some other places. But the whole machinery was set up to try to confront Iran because there was a foreign policy objective, right? A global foreign policy objective to confront the Iranian state. The similar situation is in Afghanistan. To confront the Soviet Union, we needed to mobilize Islamic sentiments. We needed to lean on Islamic ideology. That's why we begin to have the term the Mujahideen, right? And in some description, Reagan described them as our forefathers. These were individuals that we brought to the U.S. on many occasions. The Wahiri was here in the U.S. He was in the Bay Area. We set up a recruiting center in New York to recruit individuals to go to the Afghan jihad. Same across many parts of the Middle East. Egypt had a major center, recruiting center. Algeria, major recruiting center. We needed to confront the Soviets, and this is something for those who have a longer history. If the Soviet made our nose bleed in Vietnam, it is time for payback. We'll make them bleed in Afghanistan. And as such, we managed, with the Arab structure, to create a Sunni identity, right, a Sunni Islamic identity to confront both Shia Islam and to confront the Soviet Union. That took place in the between 1979 all the way up to 88, 89, 90.